Hello, today is May 13th and we are going to review our answers from yesterday's myth, which was about Echo and Narcissus. But before we do that, I am going to read you another version of that story with the same characters, except this one is called Gossip and Vanity. And you can see Echo over here and you can see Narcissus here. So let's listen to this, and I would like you to think about in what ways are they similar and in what ways are they different. Here we go. If you lived on Mount Olympus and wanted to find out anything about anyone, you would ask Echo. She made it her business to mind everybody else's business. And one day, as Echo was eavesdropping on a friendly conversation between Zeus and a lovely nymph, she saw Zeus's wife, Hera, and she was storming toward them. Before Hera could get a glimpse of Zeus, Echo grabbed her arm and began updating her on the latest gossip about the gods, leaving out Zeus, of course. So here they show you, there's Echo and there's Hera. And Hera says, "Stop your chatter, girl. Can't you see I'm in a hurry? I'm looking for my husband." And Echo says, "I haven't seen him, but I just saw Poseidon heading that way, and you'll never guess who was with him." So here she's gossiping. She's talking about other people that just aren't her business. On the next page, Echo continued to distract Hera, the powerful goddess with her endless prattle, while Zeus sneaked away from the scene. Hera turned around just in time to see her husband and realized that this imprudent nymph was trying to trick her. In her fury, she punished Echo with a cruel curse. Echo would never be able to speak again, except to repeat the last words that others spoke to her. You can see that illustration as well. And here you'll see Hera talking to you'll see Hera talking to Echo. And Hera says, "Trying to trick the queen of the gods? This'll serve you right." And Echo says, "You're right." So are you catching that? She can only repeat what the other person said to her. "Of course I'm right. I'm a goddess," says Hera. Echo wandered aimlessly through the woods where she came upon Narcissus, the most beautiful young man ever to grace Mount Olympus. Echo caught one glimpse of that face, those eyes, that hair, and instantly she fell in love. She rushed to meet Narcissus, who was annoyed to be followed by yet another girl. And here he's saying to her, "What do you want?" And of course she can only repeat, so she's saying, "You won?" And he says, "I don't want anything. Don't tell me you're another one of these foolish girls who think that they love me." She goes, "Love me? No, I won't love you. I've yet to find anyone worthy of my love." Narcissus turned to leave and Echo was devastated. As a matter of fact, they show her crying in this illustration. First, she had lost her voice and now she was losing her heart to Narcissus, and she hid herself in a cave and wept endlessly until her body withered away and all that remained was her voice and Echo. Meanwhile, Narcissus had stopped for a drink of water by a pool where he saw the most beautiful face he had ever laid his eyes on, and he finally discovered what it meant to be in love. But when Narcissus reached to touch the fair skin and golden locks, the face vanished beneath the ripples of water. So do you get what's happening here? He leans down to this river or pool of water, and he's looking in it, and he can see a reflection of his face. Now, Narcissus doesn't even realize that that is him. It's a reflection, like you see in the mirror, but it's in the water instead. And he ends up falling in love with himself, not even realizing that it's himself. And he says, "Come back, don't leave me. Can't you see we're perfect for each other?" Because when he touched it, of course, it rippled or went away, just like when if you look at yourself in water, when you touch it, it makes like little waves or little ripples. It says, then the water became perfectly still and the carved face reappeared. But every time Narcissus tried to touch it, the face disappeared in the waves. Narcissus vowed he would wait there forever for his beloved to come out. Little did he know that he had fallen in love with his own reflection. Narcissus waited day and night until a god took pity on him and changed him into a golden flower. And there he remained, a golden narcissus flower growing by the water. So, and here you can see how he was changed into a narcissus. And you can also see how that flower got its name. Now, I don't often hear them called narcissus. I usually hear them called daffodils. And that is what he was turned into. However, I'm sure you can see that his name Narcissus goes along with the name of the flower. So let's take a look and see if you were able to get our chart correct. In your OneNote, it says that this was a creation myth and a morality myth. It was a creation myth because it told us how echoes came to be. But it was also a morality myth because it shows what will happen to you if you're too vain. And vain means like in love with yourself. You're just consumed by your appearance, what you're wearing, your hair, the way you walk, the way you act. So what's the theme? Tricking others could be one theme, but another theme could also be being too vain can cause you trouble, just like it did for Narcissus. I mean, after all, he ended up being turned into a flower because of it. And then the vocabulary. Well, when we yell into a mountain or in a canyon or other places like that, we hear the last part of what was yelled or repeated, and that is called an echo. And we get that word echo from our story and Echo's name. And then there's also a second one, and this one, it doesn't really focus on the flower, but Narcissus is the name of a flower. But narcissism or narcissistic can be what people who are very vain and obsessed with themselves are called. And people who love themselves too much actually have a disease called narcissism. And that means you need to be treated by a doctor for it. So you can see how this myth has many ways that it comes into our everyday life. So today you're going to move forward and you are going to read a new myth. And this myth is about Demeter and Persephone. And you'll see that I have it below. It does show 2 pages, but you don't have to read the first page, but you have to read the second page. And then you'll be able to fill out another chart. And you'll be able to tell me, is it a creation myth or morality myth? What is the theme? And is there any vocabulary that comes from this? I'm also going to take a moment to read to you a version of Demeter and Persephone. And even though I'm reading this version, I still want you to read the other version in your OneNote yourself, okay? Or with the help of an adult. But this is called Journey to the Underworld, the story of Persephone and Demeter. As goddess of the harvest, Demeter blessed the earth with all growing things. She loved the flowers, the trees, the fields, and all of her glorious creations. But most of all, she loved her daughter Persephone. Together, they roamed about the earth, creating new kinds of plants, fruits, and flowers to suit their whims. How about a skunk cabbage? It smells terrible. And then here we have, what should we call this one, Persephone? So let's keep going. One day, Persephone was gathering flowers. She wandered away from her mother and lost track of time. As she noticed Apollo's chariot setting lower in the sky, she turned toward home. Just then, she spotted an unusual flower and bent to pick it. As she pulled up the flower, the earth suddenly split beneath her, and a golden chariot emerged, and the enormous driver wore a long black cape and a crown embedded with black gems. Persephone could scream for help, before Persephone could scream for help, he pulled her into the chariot and they descended into the pit. And look real closely here. You can see, here he is. Here's the chariot. And he's pulling her down, down, down into this pit. He kidnapped her. Demeter, now Demeter's her mom, she's searching everywhere for her daughter, but days and weeks passed with no sign of her daughter Persephone. As Demeter grieved, the earth grew cold and barren, and leaves fell from the trees, and nothing grew from the cracked, dry soil. The humans brought Demeter whatever sacrifices they could find, dead leaves and branches, hoping that the goddess would bless them with a harvest, something that would be fruitful. Instead, Demeter says, I can't be bothered with the harvest. I must find my daughter. So she just keeps on searching and searching. As Demeter continued to search, she came across a shepherd who had news of her daughter Persephone. He described what he had heard from another shepherd. Persephone had been kidnapped by a god driving a chariot pulled by 4 black horses. Demeter knew at once that the culprit was her own brother Hades, lord of the underworld. And she says, he's been getting away with his mischief since we were kids. Enough is enough. And that's what the mom is saying. So it was her own brother who stole her. Demeter raced up Mount Olympus and demanded that Zeus return her daughter at once. But sister, they are happily married, Zeus says. Persephone is queen of the underworld and has a doting husband to look after her. She will be miserable underground unless you return her to me. The earth will remain a wasteland, and humans will have nothing to offer as sacrifices. Zeus knew this would not do. He called for Hermes, the messenger god, to fetch Persephone and return her to Demeter. And Zeus says, but if she has eaten anything in the underworld, even I cannot bring her back. It will be too late. So do you understand what's happening here? Demeter is actually telling Zeus, look, if you don't return her to me, then nothing's going to grow on the earth because she is the goddess of the plants and the flowers and things that grow. And Zeus says, okay, we're going to go get her. Hermes is going to go get her. But if she's eaten anything, then it's going to be too late. So Persephone, remember, she's the daughter, she was overjoyed to see Hermes and learn that she would return to her mother. But when she heard the condition, she knew that all hope was lost. She refused all the tasty treats Hades had tempted her with. But just that morning, she had eaten 6 tiny seeds from a pomegranate. So here she hadn't eaten anything for quite some time, but she just that day ate these 6 small pomegranate seeds. Remember that number 6 because it's going to come back into play. Zeus decided that he would make an exception. Just this once. He ruled that for every pomegranate seed she ate, Persephone would spend 1 month in the underworld with Hades. So she ate 6 seeds, and for 6 months, she spends the time in the underworld with Hades. And during these months, her mother, Demeter, will mourn the loss of her daughter, and nothing on earth will grow during that time. And each year, when Persephone returns to her mother, Demeter will rejoice, and everything on earth springs into full blossom. So spring follows winter year after year, reflecting the moods of the harvest queen. I like this myth a lot. And it might help the fact that I really enjoy gardening and the seasons. So that's probably why I like this one. So now you're going to go and read the one that is in the OneNote. And I don't mind whether you fill out the chart with information from the OneNote or information from this. So Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing your replies tomorrow.